Keir Starmer is once again at the centre of controversy. What started as a press conference about NHS waiting times has spiralled into a political storm after Starmer launched a fiery attack on what he called far-right misinformation about grooming gangs. Critics have slammed the Labour leader, accusing him of using divisive language to deflect from his own role in past failures to deliver justice to victims. One of the loudest voices speaking out is Tameside councillor Liam Billington. In a scathing response, Billington accused Starmer of whipping up hatred with his comments, arguing that the Labour leader's tone only deepens divisions. Billington's words have struck a chord with many who feel Starmer is trying to shift blame rather than take responsibility. Let's take a look at the clip of Billington's remarks.
Liam, we've heard Starmer there just saying that the time for reviews is over, we need action. What's your response?
Well, I agree with what you've just said. Where is the accountability for those victims which have had really serious miscarriages of justice on this, where it has been swept under the carpet? There are people that do need to face real actions on this, whether it be police, the councils and these perpetrators themselves who have carried out these heinous crimes. But what I would say is, just listening to you there on Keir Starmer, again, the tone what he's setting is blaming the far right, and misinformation is exactly the same what we heard over the Southport stabbings, and I think he's trying to whip up hatred again.
Billington's pointed criticism didn't stop there. Speaking to GB News, he said, "There are serious miscarriages of justice here. People in power, whether it's councils, the police or others, need to be held accountable. Victims have been ignored for too long, and the response has been nothing but excuses." His comments have added fuel to the fire as public frustration over the handling of grooming gang cases continues to grow. At the centre of this storm is Keir Starmer's time as Director of Public Prosecutions, a role where critics argue he failed to address the systemic issues surrounding child sexual exploitation. Tech billionaire Elon Musk has taken the criticism a step further, accusing Starmer of being complicit in the rape of Britain. Musk's explosive claim has intensified the backlash, with many now questioning whether Starmer is fit to lead on such a sensitive issue. Starmer, however, remains defiant. Responding to questions from GB News political editor Christopher Hope, he defended his record, saying, "If you look at my 5 years as DPP, you'll see I didn't just talk about change, I made it happen. Unlike some politicians who only tweet about these issues, I actually got on with fixing the system." But his words have done little to quiet his critics. Billington pointed out that Starmer's approach, blaming the far right and dismissing misinformation, feels eerily similar to how Labour handled the fallout from the Southport stabbings. "It's the same old tactics," Billington said. "Blame others, shift focus, and hope the public forgets. But this isn't going away. The victims and their families deserve justice, not more finger-pointing." Starmer's attempts to redirect the conversation have also drawn criticism for being overly partisan. During the same press conference, he accused Conservative MPs of amplifying what the far right is saying on grooming gangs. He even suggested that the Tories have been jumping on a bandwagon after doing nothing to address the issue during their 14 years in power. Starmer hasn't shied away from defending his allies either. He praised Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips, calling her a tireless advocate for victims, and saying Jess has done more for protecting victims of abuse than any of these critics have ever dreamed of doing. While this was intended to show Labour's commitment to justice, it has only heightened scepticism among those who see Starmer's words as empty rhetoric. Adding to the chaos is the ongoing involvement of Elon Musk, whose influence has shaken up the debate. Musk has been vocal about his demands for accountability, repeatedly calling for a national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal. His criticism of Starmer and the Conservatives has given a significant boost to Reform UK, a smaller party that has been pushing for tougher action on these issues. But Musk's support for Reform UK hasn't been without drama. Despite aligning with the party on key issues, he recently criticised its leader Nigel Farage, saying Farage doesn't have what it takes to lead. Musk's father, Errol Musk, told GB News that Elon remains open to financially backing Reform UK, but only if leadership changes are made. The tension between Musk and Farage seems to stem from differing views on controversial activist Tommy Robinson. Musk has openly supported Robinson, sharing his documentary with millions of followers and calling for his release from prison. Farage, on the other hand, has distanced himself from Robinson, calling Musk's endorsement of him not what we need. Meanwhile, Starmer's challenges aren't limited to the grooming gang scandal. NATO has issued a stark warning about Britain's lack of preparedness for modern missile threats. The Defence Alliance is urging the UK to increase its spending on air defences, highlighting serious vulnerabilities in the country's current systems. Military experts have warned that Britain's defences are too thin to handle the advanced missile technology being developed by adversaries like Russia, China, and Iran. The Royal Navy's 6 Type 45 destroyers and the British Army's Sky Sabre missile system are the backbone of the UK's air defence, but they are no match for the capabilities of other nations. Germany, for example, has invested heavily in advanced systems, signing a £3.2 billion deal with Israel for the Arrow 3 missile defence system. In contrast, Britain's investments have lagged, leaving military bases like those in Cyprus vulnerable to potential attacks. Labour has promised to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP, but only when economic conditions allow. Critics argue that this promise is far too vague and fails to address the urgency of the threats. Military chiefs have warned that if changes aren't made soon, Britain could be vulnerable to long-range missile strikes within 15 years. This mix of domestic and international challenges has left Starmer in a precarious position. His critics, including Billington, Musk and Reform UK, are not backing down. The public is demanding accountability for victims of grooming gangs, while NATO and defence experts are pushing for immediate action to strengthen Britain's defences. For Starmer, the stakes couldn't be higher. He must navigate the growing backlash over his rhetoric and record while addressing mounting concerns about national security. His critics argue that he's focusing more on optics and political point-scoring than on real solutions. Musk's involvement adds yet another layer of complexity to the political landscape. His criticisms of both Labour and the Conservatives have energised Reform UK, but his disagreements with Farage raise questions about whether the party can effectively leverage his support. One thing is clear, this isn't a story that's going to fade away anytime soon. From the grooming gang scandal to the defence spending crisis, the issues at play are deeply important to voters and will likely shape the political landscape in the months ahead. If you want to stay up to date on this explosive story and all the latest developments in UK politics, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and keep watching. We'll be here to bring you every twist and turn as it happens.